Tell me why our government just last week sent $40 billion to a country across the world when crap like this happens in our country. And it's pretty normal now. It's not like this was the first time. This wasn't the first time. So our kids are being slaughtered at their elementary schools, but we have $40 billion to send to secure another country? Makes no sense.
It makes no sense. It just makes no sense. I understand. So, okay. There, is his name Herschel too? For some reason, I'm blanking on his name. There's Herschel Walker's son talking about how we spent $40 billion over to Ukraine to help them and do nothing about Americans here at home. When are we gonna start paying attention to mothers, Christian Walker, I don't want to disrespect his name. Christian Walker, their son of Herschel Walker, talking about how we spent $40 billion in Ukraine and how come we're not spending any money here at home? You know what, Christian? You're kind of right. But we're this richest country in the history of the world. I think we can do a little bit of both. But the problem is we've got politicians that you probably don't know about that are against spending it here at home because they don't like Americans, because that would take away from their bottom line and the people that pay them. Let's go to some of the details, because here's a quick rundown of some bills that would actually help Americans, that people that, I'm not even gonna say he supports, because I don't think he even supports anybody. He's doing this for the attention, but that you would think he supports what they thought of these bills. Let's watch this.
Over the past 16 months since Joe Biden entered the White House and Democrats took control of both chambers of Congress, Republicans in the House of Representatives have opposed dozens and dozens of common sense and often very popular Democratic Party bills. Let me mention just some of them. Give me 60 seconds. Start the clock. House Republicans voted against a bill to give money to the FDA to help tackle the baby formula shortage, against a bill to increase resources against domestic terrorism, against a bill to crack down on price gouging by oil companies, against a bill to increase funding to areas of persistent poverty, against a bill to provide billions in relief to restaurants and small businesses hit hard by the pandemic, against a bill to decriminalize marijuana, against a bill to cap the price of insulin, against a bill to help veterans exposed to burn pits, against a bill to increase American competitiveness with China, against a bill to extend child tax credits, establish universal pre-care and give seniors free hearing aids, against a bill to codify Roe v. Wade in law and prevent forced births, against a bill to strengthen the Voting Rights Act of 1965, against a bill to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, against a bill to bring in new background checks for private gun sales, against a bill to send $1,400 checks to ordinary Americans, against a bill to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. The vast majority of House Republicans in their nihilism and denialism voted against each and every one of those hugely popular bills. So maybe, just maybe, House Democrats and not me on cable should be pointing all this out.
I think they slowed down that clock for Mehdi. Mehdi Hassan, they're breaking down many of the things, and there's more, of course. The Republicans have vehemently been against that actually help Americans. And then again, Christian Walker is talking about how we gotta start helping Americans. Hey, start speaking out. I agree, bro, I agree. Let's start putting these politicians' feet to the fire when it comes to their rejection of Americans and what they need. Let's stop piggybacking on everything they say just because this is a partisan conversation. Because Republicans hate Americans, does that mean you have to too? In this situation, go ahead and point out. Let's go ahead and stand by our principles. How much America first? Remember that line? America first. Okay, let's go to this Midas Touch link here because it talks about details of things that passed in the House because they couldn't get to the Senate. You know who controls the House? Democrats. So graphic 3, you guys. Midas Touch tweeted this out. The $28 million for baby formula shortage passed the House, 231-192. All 192 were Republicans. The access to baby formula bill passed in the House, 413-9. All 9 were Republicans. The domestic terrorism prevention bill passed 222-203. All 203 were Republicans. Okay, weird how that works. I think we can see who actually cares about what's going on in this country versus there, but they'll talk about how we're wasting money here, there, and we're not doing anything for people here, and how Congress and Senate don't work. Say congressmen and senators, just like I was talking about earlier. How is it you can be the problem and then complain about the problem?
Well, look, I just wish Democrats would take Republicans up on their rhetoric. And here's what I mean. Republicans will say, oh, the government, and I think we heard from Ron Johnson earlier, the government is not the solution, the government is the problem. Okay, and that's probably something that Herschel Walker would say. Okay, Herschel Walker, you want more money spent on mental health. Which private organization should get the money? Be specific. And then let's have that discussion about whether this particular organization should get money to do mental health or whether it'd be better done by, I don't know, local government or state government or federal government. But let's at least have that conversation, because right now it's all empty rhetoric. We say, well, more money for mental health and more money to do this, and no, let's not have the government do it. Okay, if you don't want the government to do it, who should do it? But you have to be on the record now saying who's responsible for mental health to prevent these kids from falling through the cracks and buying the AR-15s and massacring people. Now's the time, provide the details, and let's have that discussion. But to not even have the discussion and just have the talking points, more mental health, bad government, kids are terrible, critical race theory. Put some specifics behind how you address the problems as you see them. And even if Republicans would be forced to do that, that would be progress.
Actually, isn't that crazy? And if nothing else, say, I'm gonna talk to some member of my staff, maybe someone who's smarter than me on this, and I'm gonna figure this out. You don't have to just have the answers. We know people have staffs, and that you're this figurehead and you've been elected because you're supposed to put in the work and find a way to get the job done. That's your job. If we're putting together a show and I go, what can I do? Don't know how to write, can't figure this out. No, do it, or don't be here.